Okay, so if the circumstances weren't correct, right? If you have pólvora, gunpowder, right? And there's something in the environment that triggers it, then it's going to explode and there's going to be changes, right? In this case, explosions, etc. In the case of epilepsy, he made the analogy, which I think is very, very accurate, which was that if the environment was not correct and there was something, the gunpowder is the biological predisposition, even if he didn't call it that. So if you have a biological predisposition, so gunpowder, so say low levels of serotonin, and there was a trigger in the environment, something in the environment wasn't right, then it would activate this gunpowder and then epilepsy, right, would happen. So he was a freaking genius. And then came my beloved, this guy. And this guy, well, before this guy, who I so admire so much, for 300 years, I went ahead a little bit. I can't wait to talk about Freud and how much I admire him and I look up to him. So Thomas Willis treated melancholy and other disorders, personality disorders, this personality aches, pains, with a syrup and a nice talk. So psychopharmacy and psychotherapy, right? It didn't have the shape that it has now that we're going to be learning, but he did set the first brick, that's not how you say it, but he did start this approach in the Western world. And although the syrup was made of something like crushed centipede and steel, it was a secret syrup, he treated these pains of the soul, such as depression, with the syrup and with talk. And this psychopharmacy lasted for 300 years, from the 1600 somethings to the 1900 somethings, until, ahora sí, my idol, the mighty Sigmund Freud, came, and psychopharmacy was replaced by psychoanalysis. And in psychoanalysis, everything is thought to come from our upbringing and the external influences, and the biological influences are totally ignored because, according to Sigmund Freud, according to a psychoanalytic perspective, we're born a clean slate. So we're all born equal, equally intelligent, equally prone to anxiety, equally everything, right? And then based on how our mother, we identify with them, or how much we fall in love with her, and then our father and our penis envy and many very scientific concepts. Yes, that's what causes our physical, our psychological disorders. Now, he was not entirely wrong, because yes, there are external influences that shape how we feel. Obviously, for example, right now, probably anxiety is rising among many people because the circumstances are not very adequate. So yes, circumstances influence our mental health, but gunpowder, right, our genetic predisposition, our biological predisposition, is super important and super influential. So after, thank God, no, I erase that. I can't. I will not record this again. But then Second World War happened, World War II happened, and then by using some medicine to treat, like medicine like Thorazine, to treat physical pain, they realized, neuroscientists discovered that these drugs could alter mental chemistry. So by using Thorazine, they saw that they could raise dopamine levels. And now you know that dopamine is related to happiness, right? So you could alter this with medicine. So 300 years, right, of medical success were readdressed after World War II, and then that's when they realized that they could treat the pains of the soul and of the mind with medicine, and they realized it in a more scientific kind of way. So, for example, fluoxetine is used to increase the levels of serotonin. And the commercial name, which you're probably familiar with because it's a very pop culture term, Prozac, is used to treat depression. So today, this brings us to today, and this brings us to what we're going to be learning in the next chapters. But I thought that it was important for you to know how this all came to be, how much I love Freud. And I'm excited because I think that you will find this subject very interesting. We will talk about depression, we will talk about anxiety, we might talk about bipolar disorder, and we will talk about psychopathy. If we have time, we will talk about more mental disorders, but I'm more concerned about you learning what qualifies as a disorder and what doesn't, and how faulty it is. But before I finish, I was going to, I just wanted to tell you that, yes, Thomas Willis was right. Our mental chemistry influences our well-being, yes, but there's something that I think is very, very important for you to take into consideration right now, and that is that your habits influence your mental chemistry as well. And why I am saying this, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because these are very difficult times. And of course, we have biological predispositions. We have gunpowder, right? Different amounts, different kinds. But remember that your habits can also alter these neurochemicals. Yes, your serotonin levels, if they're high, then you are less likely to be anxious, and then that might make you think, well, what if they're low and there's nothing I can do about it? But the good thing is that you actually have power over your neurochemicals. For example, by sleeping more, you raise your serotonin levels. By eating, you raise your serotonin levels. By doing something enjoyable, you raise your dopamine levels. So your personality, your mental health is not entirely in your hands, but it is to a great extent. So that is something that I wanted to remind you. I thought it was important for you to remember this. I'm very, very excited to keep teaching this. I hope I get more dexterous in the technology. Maybe not. You know that's not my forte, but I will try. If not, there's a presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I miss you. I send you a big hug, and I hope that we will see each other soon.